Very pleased to say that we're joined in the studio by the Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly. Minister, lovely to see you this morning. Shall we start with climate? Because, of course, it will be a big focus of what takes place at the G20. It was a year and a half, 2 years ago, that we saw Alex Sharma crying at COP in Glasgow because of the actions taken by China and India. And by my reckon, we haven't really moved any further forward. I mean, what chance that at this summit we might get some progress?
Well, you don't always get the big wins quickly. This is why we have to be, to a degree, patient, but also absolutely committed to this. And we will keep discussing these issues with China. It's one of the topics of conversations when I went to Beijing, funnily enough. And the Prime Minister will, of course, bring this up at the G20. And we are going to demonstrate how you can have economic growth and reduce carbon emissions, just as we have done in the UK, and to show that a number of the countries who want to keep developing economically can do so in an environmentally sustainable way.
But is it likely that we will get any progress without providing the financial assistance to the developing world that Narendra Modi and others have asked for?
Well, some of it's about money, but much of it isn't. A lot of it is about technical expertise, where the UK really is a world leader.
Quite a bit of it's about money, according to Narendra Modi.
Yes, of course. And if the two options on the table is technical cooperation and money, of course you'd look to go for both. But India is an increasingly wealthy and influential country, and it's not just about money. It's about making sure that we agree collectively on these issues, and that will be part of what the Prime Minister discusses in India. I
mean, on the matter of India's influence, I mean, certainly when it comes to issues like Russia, we would prefer to have them on side. But as things stand, we still have not had a denunciation by India of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I mean, at what point are we going to insist that they deliver that, or that there will be consequences that follow from that?
Well, look, our position on Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine is clear. I know a lot of countries in the world see it as a European problem, and part of the reason that the Prime Minister is going to the G20 and talking to nations from around the world, not just India, but nations around the world, is to highlight the fact it's not just a European issue. The cynical attacks on grain storage and exportation infrastructure is increasing hunger around the world, something that we indeed intend to take action on with a food security summit that we're going to be hosting next year. And we need to remind the world that this is everybody's problem. And that's part of diplomacy. That's the reason why we have these meetings and discuss these things.
But shouldn't there be diplomatic consequences, at the very least, from India's refusal to call out, the blatantly illegal invasion of Ukraine?
Well, we're going to keep talking about that. It's not about threatening or coercing. It's about persuading. It's about influencing. That's what diplomacy is about. The Prime Minister will, of course, have conversations on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But it's also worth remembering that from many countries in the world, they say to us, look, we appreciate this is an important issue, but we have really important issues over hunger, over climate change. And we have to listen to their concerns as well as encourage them to listen to the things that we are focused on.
But it strikes me that there are three areas in which we want to get the Indians to move. One, on the environment, they're not doing it. Two, on Ukraine, they're not doing it. Thirdly, on the free trade agreement, we're in the 12th round of talks. I'm just wondering if there is any idea that we might actually get that free trade agreement this side of the next general election.
Well, our trade negotiations with India have actually progressed much quicker than other trade negotiations, including the EU's trade negotiations with India. We have always said we want to get the right trade deal with India because it's an incredibly important partner, not just rush it through to hit an arbitrary.
We still want one. So, I mean,
of course, are
we going to get it this side of the election?
Of course we want one, and we seek to resolve it as quickly as possible, as long as it is a properly mutually beneficial trade deal. And on the other issues that you discussed, we've got to recognise that influence, particularly influence of a country as large and diverse as India and others, takes time. But we don't just stop seeking to address these issues because we don't get movement as quickly as perhaps we would hope, you stick with it, and that's what we're going to do.
Well, we hope at some point that there will be some fruit that bears there. But can we talk about what has been happening at HMP Wandsworth?
Yeah, of course.
And Daniel Khalifa. Daniel Khalifa. I mean, first and foremost, do we have anything in terms of an update that might allay people's fears about the fact that this man remains on the run?
So I don't have an update specifically on the investigation. Of course, it is an ongoing investigation, and I'm not terribly comfortable speculating.
We should remind everyone he is on remand, he is accused, there has been no conviction, he is awaiting trial.
Absolutely, thank you. But we are, of course, looking into the nature of this escape. The Conservative government, the Prime Minister, take public safety incredibly important as top priority. That's why we're increasing the number of prison places, prison officer numbers, police officer numbers. We are very, very focused on this.
But also this government has sat for 2 years on a report from the Chief Inspector of Prisons which pointed out the massive problems that there were in terms of overcrowding and understaffing. 2 years on, we have had 4 years on, we've had another prisoner managing to escape from it. I mean, the Chief Inspector said last night, Wandsworth Prison should be closed. I mean, if a school was failing its pupils as badly as this, it would be closed. If a prison is failing the people inside it, and indeed the public in Wandsworth and elsewhere, shouldn't we now consider that as an option?
Well, we are updating and modernising and increasing our prison estate. We're looking at 6 new prisons, 22,000 extra prison places. We've already recruited 4,000 extra prison officers. There are another 5,000 to be recruited. So we're doing those things. It's not an overnight thing. Building prisons is not a quick fix.
No,
it's the right thing to do. We're doing that.
Since 2010.
And what we have seen over that period of time is crime overall dropped by half, violent crime dropped by 40%. Obviously, the crime figures I'm talking to take out online crime.
Let's focus on Daniel Khalifa, however. Now,
and also, of course, that prison escapes were 10 times higher prior to us coming into office.
Given the nature of the crimes that he is accused of, I'm not so sure that is the kind of defence I'd be pulling out the bag right now. What I would say, however, is one of the offences with which he is charged is collecting information that could be useful to a foreign state. Is there any suggestion, or is there any possibility that a foreign state could have assisted in his exit from prison and his evading capture?
As I say, I know this is it is a incredibly important issue, and your viewers, of course, will be hugely curious about the circumstances about this.
Concerned, I would say,
and concerned, of course. I'm not comfortable speculating on the nature of what happened. There is an investigation in place. When that reports, we'll understand better what happened here, but I'm not going to speculate on the nature of this.
Would part of that investigation involve ascertaining whether or not a foreign power was involved in this?
As I say, there will be a full investigation of all the circumstances around this particular incident, and I'm not going to speculate on that.
Minister, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.